Was there anything that when you got that position, you were excited about doing? Now that I'm in control, what's the fun thing I want to do now that I have this opportunity?
Everything. Because in WCW, everything was so broken that it would be hard to try to fix it and not be successful. That's how
Right.
broken every business unit within WCW, when I took it over, it was worse than starting from scratch.
Right.
Now, I just take advantage, and then it was Turner Broadcasting, and we were all being paid by Turner. So I don't mean to make it sound like, a startup would have been easier than the situation I walked into. But in some ways it would have been, because I had to overcome bad habits. I had to overcome dysfunction at a high level who were dysfunctional and to manage them in a way that allowed me to change the things that I felt needed to be changed was a fair amount of work. It was not easy, but attacking television was fun for me. Looking at the product, because that's what I felt most comfortable. At the time I
Mhm.
didn't feel comfortable at all with creative. So I didn't even think about creative. That was still Area 51 for me when I was at WCW
Right.
until 1995. Then I started trespassing every once in a while. Um, Increasing the production value of the show was something that I felt absolutely needed to be done. It was the low hanging fruit
Mhm.
in WCW at that. And it was the fruit that I felt most comfortable picking because I probably knew more about production than I did anything else within WCW. I would say that would be it. Increasing the production values of the show, making it more watchable, making it more entertaining, even just from a pacing point of view. That's
You'd mentioned that there were some incumbents there, some people that you had to retrain. How did you go about that? I'm sure there was a lot of people that didn't just say, "Oh, Eric's in charge. I guess I'll just do everything he says." How did you handle the people that, whether or not they'd be more senior than you at the company, but now you're their boss, or people that were just hard headed? Did you have an approach to deal with people like that, or did you just say my way or the highway? Did you say I'm going to show you I can do this, and then you'll listen to me? How did you approach those people?
It was a combination depending on the individual. For the most part, I did not have a heavy-handed approach. At the time in Turner, you would have had to murder somebody in headquarters elevator. Turner didn't
Right.
fire anybody, right?
Right.
So for me to come in, my nature is to be a little direct and heavy-handed and just get
Mhm.
shit done. If it's in my way, move it or break it or fix it. But don't waste a lot of time. Either you can't get it done. If you can't fix it fast, just get it out of the way. But that approach didn't work in Turner at that time. Culturally, just didn't work corporately. So I had to learn to work around people. Gary Juster, Gary Juster and Jim Barnett. Jim Barnett was more of I don't want to say a figurehead, but Ted was very gracious to keep Jim Barnett on the staff, even though Jim Barnett really didn't have a job to do. But he was kind of like a consultant. He was Yoda.
Right.
But more than anything, it was Ted Turner being a generous person that kept him in that spot. Gary Juster was right underneath Jim Barnett. And Gary was the hands-on promoter. Gary was the guy that promoted live events. He sucked at it. He was horrible. He had no instinct. He had no vision. He couldn't think out of the box. Gary was one of those guys that would just do what has always been done. And if it didn't work, he never really reevaluated the way he promoted individual markets. So I couldn't really fire Gary. So I brought in Zane Breslau, who had formerly worked in the WWF. He knew how to promote. He wasn't
Right.
doing the same thing that had been done 10 years earlier, always worked with the same venues, with the same building managers, with the same deals. Gary was on autopilot. Oh,
Right.
you want to go to Roanoke? Okay. He calls buddy at Roanoke and it would take care of itself. You know, Zane was much more hands-on. And I gave Zane more responsibility and took as I gave more responsibility to Zane, I was taking responsibility from Gary to the point where if Gary would have got hit by a bus, it would have taken a week or 10 days for anybody to notice it.
Right. So you just kind of fixed the problem your way.
I fixed it in a
Essentially.
Turner way.
It's
I fixed it without having to fire him.
right.